Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, we're going to talk about cash dispensers, otherwise known as ATMs. Now, these are the machines where you go to take your money if you want some cash. Now, it's very interesting because ATMs in the UK are known by many different names, and that's because each of our banks had its own brand of cash dispensers. For example, Santander had Link machines. Lloyds Bank had Cashpoint machines. The Bank of Scotland had auto teller machines, and they used to often refer to each other's machines. When these machines first came around, when they first appeared, then we had to use our own bank's machine to avoid charges, whereas these days you can use any bank without being charged. However, be careful because there are also some independent machines and they have a clear message on the screen before you put your card in that they will charge you for transactions. So you need to be careful which machine you use. Let's look at some names for ATMs across the UK. Well, if I wanted to find a machine, I could ask someone, "Excuse me, do you know where there's an ATM?" That would be understood. Or I could say, "Excuse me, do you know where there's a cash dispenser, please?" Another way to say it is, "Hello, I'm looking for a cash point. Does anyone know where there's a cash point?" A more informal way to ask the same question is to refer to the hole in the wall. And I believe that came from Barclays Bank. They made a reference once to their machines being called holes in the wall. So you could say to someone, "Excuse me, is there a cash point here?" Or, "Excuse me, I'm trying to find a hole in the wall. Do you know where I can find one?" But that's very informal. Actually, hole in the wall is a Barclays registered trademark. It's owned by Barclays Bank, which is a little bit strange. Yes. You could also call them cash terminals. Is there a cash terminal near here? But probably my favorite would be cash point. That's my favorite way. "Excuse me, is there a cash point near here?" Now, just so that you know, there is a separate system here called cash point, and the two things are not related. So I want to explain to you what a cash point is. So, firstly, a cash point is the machine, the hole in the wall, the cash dispenser. Secondly, a cash point is a system which is used amongst local traders. If you go to a local shop here, they will have a big terminal on their desk, which is called cash point, and it has nothing to do with taking money. You see, here in the UK, many people, they have pay-as-you-go electricity and pay-as-you-go gas. Now, you might think that's a little bit strange, and it is. When I first moved into this apartment, the electricity and gas was pay as you go, and I spent most of my life running to the local shop in order to top up my electricity to make sure there was enough for the day. After a few months and getting very bored of running to the shop, I asked the electricity company, who also provides the gas, to give me a proper meter where I could receive a bill at every quarter. Of course, there was a big discussion about it and why did I want it and did I realize that I would have to wait a long time. But eventually, they gave me a smart meter And that meant that my bills were always up to date and never ever estimated. I mean, I really don't know why that system is not in place here anyway, because the idea of receiving estimated bills or rushing to try to top up your electricity, it's crazy. So, anyway, that that system where you have to top up your electricity and gas is done through a terminal called Cash Point. So when you walk into a local shop, you might see a sign on the window saying Cash Point, but that doesn't mean they have a cash machine. That simply means that they operate this system where you can top up your gas and electricity. Getting back to this gas and electricity for a moment, yeah, so the system is currently here that either you pay as you go, which is, of course, costs you a lot more than usual. You receive an estimated bill every quarter, which you have to pay. That's the second system. And then you have to give the electricity company the real numbers from your meter, and they'll correct it so you get a bill. I think that's probably common throughout the world. And the third system is the smart meter, which is hooked up to Wi-Fi and everything else, and it will automatically give the electric company the numbers that you've used, and then you receive a bill automatically. And that's the way I like it. Why the whole country isn't like that, I don't know. I mean, this is the year 2023, so it would seem very, very odd that we don't have that. The government did try to give us all electricity meters, but unfortunately they came up with some problems with that because we're not all in Wi-Fi areas, and even when they did manage to install smart meters into certain properties, they didn't always work because of the infrastructure we have here. So I think about half the country uses estimated bills, a quarter's on pay-as-you-go, and that's rising now because as prices went up, the electricity companies they started forcing people to use pay-as-you-go, and they were, in some cases, actually breaking into people's houses to install pay-as-you-go meters and removing the smart meters. It's a horrible idea, isn't it, that the electricity company could break into your house and insist you use pay-as-you-go. They've stopped that practice now because it was against the law, and the government took action against them. But yeah, very common, very common. So, getting back to cash machines, okay? Cash Point, ATM, that's the automated teller machine. I wouldn't use that full name, just say ATM. So, cash machine, ATM, Cash Point, link. I wouldn't ask anyone, excuse me, do you know if there's a link machine near here? Because they probably wouldn't know what you're referring to. If you referred to a hole in the wall, people would probably smile because it's very informal, but they would know exactly what you mean. They might, for clarity, say, do you mean a cash point? Yeah, over there, across the road. So those are the names we usually use, all right? Cash dispenser, another very common one. So if you are coming to the UK on holiday, be very careful before you put your card in. Just read the front of the screen, and once you put your card in, it'll give you the same message. It might say, this machine will charge you 99 cents for using this machine. And if you don't want to pay that, take your card back and just find another machine which isn't going to charge you. As a general rule, banks are vanishing, but their cash machines are everywhere. So you should still be able to find one that doesn't charge you. But the machines attached to local shops, they're usually the ones which do charge you. Anyway, we live in a cashless society, So just swiping your card should be enough to let you pay for things. You might also hear the reference chip and pin, and that's because all of our cards have a little microchip in them with your PIN number. And also we have contactless, where you can just tap and go. All right, so hopefully that gives you some information about our cash points. So if you are coming to the UK, just be a little bit careful using those so that you don't get charged, and also be aware of who's around you when you use them. It's like your own country. Don't let anyone break your concentration. If anyone talks to you while you're using the cash point, ignore them until you have your cash in your hand. Don't turn around to start any conversation with anybody, because they'll take your money very quickly. That's it. See you. Bye.